いですが。玲子ですか？
もしもし。
ネオジオ CD 新登場。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric continuing series Neo Nostalgia, which is underway right now on Tuesdays. So of course I figured if we wanted to talk about the Neo Geo, we should do a little hardware fun on a Friday. So we are doing a full history and teardown of the Neo Geo CDZ, the least likely Neo Geo CD console you're probably going to see. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell, definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But of all three Neo Geo CD units, the CDZ is the least likely to appear, yet it is the best looking one of the bunch in my opinion. I have a front loader and the CDZ. I used to own a top loader. Stylistically, I absolutely love this console with these interesting, almost triangular buttons here that have such a nice tactile feel. It's just a nice compact Neo Geo CD, and it does have a faster loading CD-ROM drive, which people have tested, and the transfer rate does adhere to a 2x drive that was sometimes confusing to people. Now this never came out in the US, it's the only Neo Geo CD not to have a US release, but it does seem like it was intended to because the molds do have never touch the lens in English as well, and that is good advice, don't touch the lens, so maybe it was intended on a US release, but the Neo Geo CD just was not taking off here. But again, I just love the design language of this unit of all three Neo Geo CD consoles, and that is a lot of revisions, 3 for one device. This one has the look that I love the most. Unfortunately, this one always gets marked down because of overheating issues, and those are true. There's some small vents on the top which basically do absolutely nothing, and we'll get the rest of the vents below, but these break more often than any other unit outside of the Neo Geo front loader having issues with that mechanical drawer and the gears going bad. But taking a look around the back, it's pretty well equipped. Obviously you have your power in, but you have an RGB port out. It's the same as the Sega Genesis one as far as the plug is concerned, but the wiring is different and they are not interchangeable. But I love that RGB out. But if you don't have RGB capabilities, you got S-Video and composite as well. So there's so many different ways to hook the Neo Geo CDZ up. You're not going to be wanting for inputs. And speaking of inputs, you have 2 controller ports on the front, which is standard for the Neo Geo AES. So of course it's going to be the same here because they're versus games. But the Neo Geo CD pad, if you've never held one in your hand and you've never used it, is the best controller I have ever used as far as 2D games are concerned. But you get options with the Neo Geo CDZ along with the other 2 CD units, because you can't just plug in an AES stick or any other DB9 stick wired up correctly. I absolutely love that you can do that. But what I mean this controller is perfect, damn it, I mean it is perfect, because you have a gated click to the inputs. It's not a D-pad, it's not a membrane system. This has tactile micro switches on that thumbstick, and it makes playing Neo Geo games on a controller, not an arcade stick, feel absolutely perfect. If you've never held one before, you can adapt these over to USB as well. I highly recommend checking one out because they're perfect for fighting games. But let's take a look at the bottom, because I did say this system is notorious for overheating, and there's one very big reason for that, and it's an incredibly stupid design decision that was necessitated for RF shielding. But you'll see here, you get one big SNK logo and 4 screws. It's as easy as that to get into the console, and we will be doing that shortly. But these grates right here that are supposed to allow heat out are 99% blocked by an RF shield. There's 2 small little holes where heat can escape from. Obviously they were forced to do this for some sort of certification, but all of the airflow into a CDZ is blocked. Now the strong recommendation is take these out, especially because the feet on the bottom barely give you any air clearance. I don't do it because if you don't use the console that much, it's usually fine, but honestly if you use it and play it a lot, take the RF shield out, you won't miss it. But through the magic of editing and removing one screw really quickly, we can pop the top on the CDZ and see what's underneath it. Always be delicate when you're doing these sort of things. You don't want to break any plastic, and there is the inside of the unit. And it is a very compact, concise, and neat design as well. But taking a look at the top, there is that full CD mech exposed. and then you're going to have the CD controller board here over on the side that's going to read the data and send that over to the main Neo Geo motherboard, because it does work differently obviously than a cartridge based system. We'll get into that more in a second, but down here you'll see the date on this, 10/13 of manufacture. This came out in December in Japan, so this is very recent to launch. And then of course there's an internal power switch. It's got a nice tactile feel to it, which is always fun. But if we take a look over here, we've got the battery backed SRAM, and then we have some jumpers here as well. And if we pop in here, you'll see that previous to my ownership of this has been modified to a US console. Another reason why this is how close it was to coming to the US, at least from a hardware perspective. If we change that jumper to the second position, it would technically become a European console, and if we remove the jumper completely, it would be a Japanese console, because the CD games have basically both language packs or ROMs on them as well. But getting to the CD side of things, for the longest time there was a debate of whether or not this was a 2x drive versus the front and top loader's 1x drive, or if it just had an additional cache. And people have used oscilloscopes to check the data transfer rate, and it does adhere to a 300 kilobyte or 2x CD-ROM speed, so that seems to be the answer. The mech is relatively simple. It's a little bit dusty in here, and I cleaned this off camera, but if you are in your CDZ, it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of white lithium grease on those rails to the side and gears just to keep them running smoothly. You don't want brittle plastic or any cracking in those gears, because then the laser won't move and you just won't be reading discs. You got a couple shock mounts on the side, and at least as far as age degradation is concerned, they are perfectly fine. They're still nice and squishy right there. You gotta give a little tweak. On this side, not a lot to see. There's a big RF shield, and it is just basically just the Neo Geo hardware underneath. It's not anything you've never seen before if you've seen an AES or MVS board. It just has some more things on it, and that's just because it reads some CDs. But as I mentioned earlier, the Neo Geo CDZ being a more compact, concise unit, take a look at it compared to an original Neo Geo CD, the front loader. It is absolutely minuscule in comparison. It almost sits in half of the footprint on the top of that front loader, and if you put them side by side, you can see just how shorter the console truly is. It is diminutive compared to the massive slab that is the front loader. And the games are the same. Taking a look at 3 games, both on AES cartridges and CDs, it's the exact same game, it's just delivering the content in a different medium. It's CD based versus having a ROM cartridge with those ROM chips on the front. And sometimes you do get Redbook audio depending on the game, but even the games are interesting. There's so many changes in the life of the Neo Geo CD. Sometimes you're going to have a game like Fatal Fury 3 here, awesome game, pop it open, and it's just going to have this black Neo Geo artwork on it with the name of the game. Some of the earlier games use this artistic format, but if you take a look at the back, it's got some really nice art, not as good as the AES copy, but hey, what can you do? But if you go to later games, King of Fighters 97, some Neo Geo games shipped with custom silkscreen artwork on the disc. It just depends what game it is. I think both look really nice, but there were so many changes to the hardware on the Neo Geo CD side. You also get a lot of changes to the discs in and of themselves. And that's just the fun thing about this machine. It's a different way to play mostly the same thing, but there are some exclusives to the Neo Geo CD that you can't get anywhere else. I guess technically not Cross Swords 2, because modders have brought that to the AES and MVS, but it is still technically one of the exclusive games for the Neo Geo CD. I'll have an episode coming up for that as well, and damn it, it is a damn fine game. But the biggest one that everyone kept asking for was Samurai Shodown RPG. This is a Neo Geo CD exclusive. It does work on the PlayStation 1 and Saturn as well, because there's releases there, but this is one of the heavy hitters for the Neo Geo CD, and there is another English work in process patch going on right now, and I'm showing you a tiny bit before you see the video. Now of course it does have a lot of games that were out on the Neo Geo CD, something like The Last Blade here. I own it on AES, but you can get it on the CD as well, and some things are just missing. A lot of things actually, like you're not going to be able to play Mark of the Wolves on the Neo Geo CD. It just never came out. You're not going to be able to do it. But for what the Neo Geo CD does, I do love it. I have a lot of Neo Geo hardware, if you can't tell. In between the AES and the front loader, we made ourselves a little CDZ sandwich. It's so interesting how many different variants of the hardware there were for the Neo Geo CD, and more specifically the Neo Geo CDZ. And since we were talking about 2 Neo Geo CD exclusives, I figure you guys would want to see one of the rarer pieces of hardware out there. Like I said, it does like to overheat, and if you do own one and you haven't popped that RF shield out yet and you use it regularly, I highly recommend you do so. But other than that, they seem to be quite reliable. I would say that it's probably top loader's the best, CDZ is the second for reliability, and the front loader is definitely a conversation piece that you don't want to fight with. But this reminds me of something else in my library that I've never showed you before that I'm teasing as it'll be coming up very shortly, because this unit looks like something that Panasonic made. Maybe you know what it is, maybe you don't. Leave me a comment down below and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.